The Economic is the trawler shrimp boat with the highest level of technology in the world. Just the 3 trawling nets it carries weigh as much as 30 tons and are worth $600,000 while it's catching shrimp. It also processes and packages them in the factory inside the ship's hold. During the trawling process, the shrimp at the bottom of the nets can be seen clearly from the cabin. It's not just a shrimp boat, it's also an icebreaker, even a Category 12 hurricane, 10-meter high waves, or a 1-meter thick ice layer can't dampen the enthusiasm of these Inuit fishermen for going into the deep sea to catch shrimp. They only fish for shrimp in the most dangerous seas on Earth, and the rewards are substantial. After a 3-week voyage in the Arctic Ocean, each person can earn over $15,000, but this requires superb skills and a bit of luck. Most importantly, it requires a reliable ship. Today, let's step into the most advanced trawler shrimp boat in Greenland and see how Inuit fishermen catch big shrimp and make big money. The port on the southwest coast of Greenland is where the shrimp boat Economic docks. This advanced vessel, 85 meters in length, is the star of the Royal Greenland Company. It's not just a fishing boat, it's also a powerful icebreaker and a super efficient floating factory. Now, the Economic has just docked and unloaded 220 tons of shrimp. This is a rich reward after a difficult voyage in the icebound Davis Strait. Lindbjørn Christensen is the captain of this super shrimp boat.
I'm not afraid for the ship. I know they can work in bad weather, very bad weather.
The Royal Greenland Company is the world's largest producer of cold water shrimp. It owns several of the world's most advanced marine fishing and processing vessels. It catches a variety of deep water fish and shrimp in Greenlandic waters. Among them, 5 are professional fishing vessels equipped with onboard processing plants. There are also 5 fishing and processing vessels in Seattle, the United States, which are specifically used for catching and processing flatfish, the waters of Alaska. In a joint venture with Russia, 2 fishing and processing vessels have been set up, which are specially used for catching and processing cod in the Bering Strait. Before the Economic sets sail again, it needs to replenish fuel and a new batch of salt prepared by the processing plant. It also needs to stock up on food for the 26 crew members. Since the exact duration of the voyage cannot be guaranteed, they usually prepare enough food to last for 2 months. The crew members of the Economic are Inuit fishermen from Greenland, while the management staff come from the Faroe Islands of Denmark. Each person's salary depends on their catch, which motivates them to take risks and fish in the potentially deadly sub-zero degree waters. The crew will have a difficult shrimp fishing journey in the harsh environment of the Arctic winter. The daily temperature is minus 30 degrees Celsius. There are also icebergs, sudden storms, and blinding fog. This voyage will last for 3 weeks. It will take nearly a day to reach the shrimp fishing ground. Everyone has work to do along the way. The trawl crew is busy mending the fishing nets. The Economic carries a total of 3 nets. 2 are used for fishing, and 1 is kept as a spare. Each net weighs 1 ton and costs nearly $200,000, but this money can be earned back quickly. A full net can catch shrimp worth nearly $45,000. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Finner Johannesson keeps a close eye on the gauges of the shrimp fishing boat. The 6,660 horsepower engine enables it to reach a speed of 14 knots, and it has a maximum range of 16,000 kilometers, which is far enough to sail all the way south to the Bahamas. The traditional shrimp fishing areas are located near the western and southwestern coasts of Greenland, and some are hidden deep beneath the ice layer. This is exactly where Captain Christensen is heading. He will use modern technologies such as sonar and echo sounders for assistance, but mainly relies on his 20 years of experience fishing in these waters. There is a great deal of pressure to find the shrimp as quickly as possible and fill the ship's cargo hold. If the captain makes a wrong judgment, the Economic and these crew members will stand to lose a large amount of profit and income. The hull of this high-tech factory trawler is encased in 30mm thick steel, enabling it to break through ice layers up to 1 meter thick. First, the bow of the ship inserts into the ice layer until the weight of the hull crushes the ice beneath. At the rear of the ship, the crew starts to inspect the trawl doors. These steel monsters, each weighing 7 tons, must be in perfect condition. They spread out the nets of the Acomolik like huge windsocks, allowing the shrimp to flow in with the current. In the middle, it is secured by an 8.5-ton stone anchor. The trawl doors use the water current to stretch the nets 70 meters to each side of the ship. The trawl doors are connected to the ship's winch cables through huge shackles. The crew is replacing them because they are already worn out if the shackles break. The trawl doors will sink immediately, taking the nets and the catch with them. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's already starting to get dark. The first mate, Michael, takes over the watch from the captain. Ice is everywhere, and any distraction could lead to disaster. Most of the icebergs break off from the eastern coast of Greenland's ancient ice sheet, but the ocean currents carry them northwestward, putting the Acomolik directly in their path. The Acomolik, the world's most advanced trawler shrimp boat, has been drifting in the Arctic ice fields for 2 days. Next, Captain Christensen is ready to use high technology to track Arctic shrimp. He will rely on sonar and an echo sounder to determine the depth and location of the Arctic shrimp. They usually live at depths of 150 to 500 meters near underwater shoals and ridges. At this moment, ice fog rises from the sea surface. This is the result of the encounter between the air at -33 degrees Celsius and the water at -2 degrees Celsius. But despite the fog, Captain Christensen doesn't dare to delay for a moment. He's going to lower the first net of this voyage. On the trawling deck, crew members are rushing to make preparations for lowering the net. At the same time, the captain reduces the ship's speed from 14 knots to 2 knots. This can prevent the heavy fishing net from pulling the ship backward. The fishing net is equipped with trawl eye sensors that provide crucial information, including how many shrimp have entered the net mouth and how much clearance there is from the seabed. On the bridge, the captain controls the huge winch that moves the cables. The crew members on the deck are in the most dangerous situation. Ice fog, frostbite, and hypothermia are all common problems. In addition, the winch cables are taut under the tension of the trawling net. If a cable breaks and whips across the deck, it could injure the people on the deck. If any fisherman slips and falls into the water, he will lose consciousness in less than 15 minutes. Finally, they connect the fishing net to the trawl doors with cables, and then the trawl doors are lowered into the sea. The fishing net sinks to a position just 1 meter above the seabed. The Acomolik starts to move forward at a speed of 5 knots. Trawling in the ice-covered sea area is a costly adventure. The engine of the fishing boat must be much more powerful, and it consumes almost twice as much fuel as in open waters. Every dollar they earn must be balanced against the high fuel costs. It costs $27,000 a day to keep this ship running, so just catching a large quantity of shrimp is not enough. The captain is also looking for those shrimp that can fetch a good price. They have been at sea for more than 6 hours, and the crew members are eagerly waiting for signs that the first net is full. Below the ship's deck, the factory supervisor, Samuelson, is ready to start the onboard processing factory. The crew members are also very anxious about whether the first net will be a bumper catch. Although everyone has a basic salary, there will be no bonus without shrimp. The sensors on the fishing net allow the captain to have a clear understanding of what is in the net and its position relative to the seabed. There is an echo sounder at the head of the net to help guide the shrimp. Along the seabed, tension sensors are installed in the middle and rear part of the net, which stretch as the net fills up. All this information is displayed on the monitors on the bridge. After 8 hours of trawling, finally, 2 red lines appear, indicating that there are 4.5 tons of shrimp in each of the 2 fishing nets. It's time to haul in the nets. Soon, the trawl doors and the stone anchor are pulled up. The crew members wrap ropes around the fishing nets and secure them to the cables above with shackles. Then the captain starts the powerful Wilson winch on the ship to lift the entire fishing net upright. Now, 9 tons of shrimp pour out from the fishing net and are dumped into the buffer tanks filled with seawater to keep them fresh and undamaged. The conveyor belt transports the shrimp to the bycatch separator, where all the shrimp slide down, and any other fish are pushed up and washed back into the sea. The factory workers manually remove stones and other foreign objects. This onboard factory has conveyor belts that are over 1 kilometer long, almost 15 times the length of the ship. When operating at full speed, it can process up to 80 tons of shrimp per day.
Almost 50% of the weight are big brown, huh? That means that we will get a high price.
These large shrimp will be priced to 2-3 times higher than the small ones. The shrimp are sorted by size. The smaller shrimp fall through the narrow slots at the top, and the largest shrimp, such as those destined for the Japanese market, slide down from the larger openings at the end of the solder and are directly sent to the weighing and packaging stations. The boxes are labeled, stamped, and sealed, and then they are sent to a pressure freezer to be frozen for 3 hours until the core temperature of the shrimp reaches -18 degrees Celsius. The boxes are taken out of the freezer, packed into cardboard boxes, and sealed. This is a super efficient process, and it all takes place inside an ice-breaking trawler shrimp boat in the sea north of the Arctic Circle, just a few minutes after the shrimp are caught from the water. But this shrimp fishing expedition is far from over. They will stay at sea until the cargo hold of the ship is filled with more than 400 tons of shrimp. In the kitchen, the chef is frying meat, which is also the food that all the crew members want to eat the most because they are already tired of seafood. The Akamalik, a mobile shrimp fishing factory at sea, is heading towards more ice layers. 40 kilometers off the western coast of Greenland, the reefs on the seabed pose a huge threat. The first mate, Michael Dahl Nielsen, is worried that the fishing net might be torn on the seabed, so he uses the trawl eye sensor located at the top of the fishing net to read the contour of the seabed. It sends out echoes downwards and measures the changes in depth in the rocky waters. That echo shows up as a jagged line on the monitor. Therefore, the person navigating the ship has to constantly adjust the depth of the fishing net. Sometimes, it's necessary to sail along the crests of the waves and avoid the troughs. Each fishing net of the Akamalik is worth nearly $200,000, so once a fishing net is cut by the reefs, the lost catch is far more valuable than the net itself. Thus, every time the net is hauled up, it needs to be carefully inspected for any holes. In the tools and molds workshop below the deck, the chief engineer's work is never done. Keeping the Akamalik sailing smoothly on the ice-filled sea requires constant monitoring and maintenance. Many components need to be repaired personally. On the 5th day of the voyage, the Akamalik is struggling to move forward through the ice. The fishing nets are deployed and retrieved about 6 times a day. Recently, most of the catches are smaller shrimp, but they won't be wasted. They are of what is called industrial-grade quality, and their price is relatively low. They are mainly used to make frozen dinners and pre-packaged shrimp salads. They go directly into the freezer, and 3 minutes later, they are transferred into large bags. When the ship returns to the port, these bags will be sent to the processing factory for peeling, cooking, and freezing. On the deck, the trawl crew is dealing with another problem with the fishing net. There is a device called a grid that is supposed to prevent anything other than shrimp from entering the net. The grid is located at 2/3 of the way along the fishing net. It can prevent any fish wider than 20 millimeters from being caught. When a larger fish hits the grid, an elastic rope will make it open a hole to let the fish escape. However, the fishermen found that the elastic rope was broken. This means that the grid either won't let anything into the net or will let almost everything in. They spent 15 minutes making a quick repair for this. Then the fishing net was lowered into the water again. Soon, it comes to the 6th day of shrimp fishing in the Arctic. Captain Christensen begins to feel worried. They haven't caught enough shrimp. In October, the peak season of the year, the fishing net could be filled in just 1 hour, and the factory could process up to 80 tons of shrimp per day. But now, it takes 6 to 8 hours for the net to be filled, and the factory's production capacity is almost only half of what it used to be. To make matters worse, the wind direction has changed. Now the wind is blowing from the northwest, causing more and more ice layers to approach the Akamalek. Thicker ice layers mean higher fuel costs, and the current catch can't cover these costs. Captain Christensen can't stay here any longer. It's time to plan a new route. He's heading 200 kilometers south. It finally took 20 hours to escape from the continuously approaching ice layers off the western coast of Greenland. However, some of the waves here are as high as 10 meters, crashing against the trawling deck. Even so, the ship is not afraid at all. With the first net cast here, they hauled up 12 tons of shrimp, which is a rare bumper harvest. At such a moment, these fishermen don't want to go anywhere else. Even if the icy sea water runs down their backs, their fingers get numb from the cold, and there is a risk of frostbite. They don't care at all because of the generous rewards. In fact, according to local laws and regulations, the entire trawl crew on a Royal Greenland ship must be composed of Greenlanders. People from other places are not allowed to work and earn money here. The waves haven't subsided, but in the factory below, you can hardly feel any swaying. The conveyor belts here run as smoothly as they would on land. This is because there is a complex system of balanced water tanks at the bow of the ship. When the Akamalek is rocked by the waves, the ballast water gradually flows from one tank to another, counteracting the rocking and keeping the ship steady. One of the most common processing methods on the Akamalek is to boil the shrimp in seawater. When the shrimp enter the dumping basket via the conveyor belt, it automatically pours the live shrimp into the boiler, where they are boiled for 5 minutes. Then they are cooled, frozen, and packaged. All these processes, from the fishing net to the packaging, are completed in less than 20 minutes. The ship is also equipped with a kind of nylon suit coated with polyurethane. This kind of suit can withstand the low temperature of seawater. In case of an accident where one has to jump into the water, this suit can extend the survival time to up to 6 hours. The Akamalek has now been sailing at sea for 10 days, and the cargo in the hold has increased to over 200 tons. But suddenly, there is a problem in the engine room. One of the cylinders fails to ignite properly, and the captain is forced to shut down the engine. Now, the pressure is on Chief Engineer Finner Johannesson. The Akamalek will be unable to move in the water until he solves the problem. The 12-cylinder engine of the Akamalek usually runs at a speed of about 720 revolutions per minute, generating nearly 7,000 horsepower. However, the ignition temperature of one cylinder is nearly 25% lower than normal, and it is far from achieving that output power. Moreover, it consumes too much fuel diluent. The first thing that Chief Engineer Finner Johannesson thinks of is to replace this fuel injection valve with the one that was cleaned in the workshop a few days ago. This is the quickest solution. Then they restarted the engine, and fortunately, everything ran normally afterwards. At this moment, the trawl crew has returned to their posts. The fishing nets are cast out and hauled back in again and again. It's a long, cold, wet, and difficult job every time they do this. This team of crew members is risking their lives, but their hard work has paid off. Finally, after 3 weeks at sea, the cargo hold of the Akamalek is filled with 440 tons of shrimp, and the mission is completed. This catch will bring in nearly $1 million in revenue, which is enough to give the 26 crew members a bonus of $140,000 when they return to the port. The loading and unloading doors at the port unload the precious trays filled with frozen shrimp. These trays will be directly loaded onto the waiting cargo ships and shipped to markets across Europe and Asia once it is fully replenished. The powerful factory trawler shrimp boat, the Akamalek, will turn around and head straight back to the North Atlantic.